Good evening, ladies.
Kavod Haraf, how are you?
Okay, do you hear me okay?
Yes, yes.
Okay, good. Very nice. We're going to Facebook.
Good evening.
Good evening. Just give me a second, I'm sorry.
Looks like we scared all the guys away.
Okay. Okay. Don't want to keep you waiting. Let's get started. Okay. I think we left on the last one in this chapter. I apologize. I'm using like a new computer, so gotta get the bugs out of this thing. Okay. Yeah. Right. So he brings here what we saw on the tour, that in the Sidur of the Ashkenaz, it has also some other texts there, Yeh Ratzon, Ribon HaOlamim. Right. And these texts, really, the truth is, in some form or other, appear also in the Sephardi Sidur nowadays. So it says in the Bit Yosef, Besidurim Shelanu. So it's in our Sidurim, Katub Eloheinu ve'Elohei Avotenu, Zachrenu b'zichron tov milifanecha. That's the way it is in our Sidur. Parshat Akedah, and then we have the binding of Yitzchak. These are all, by the way, in the Korbanot, right? The beginning of the Shachrit. And women don't really say this, unless you really are, you do have extra time. If you have extra time, you can do. But the custom by most women, they don't say it. So it may be a little bit foreign to you. But it's there. So it says, then Parshat Akedah, then we do the binding of Yitzchak. And it says afterwards, Sidur Ashkenaz Katuv Achar Yeratzon Ribon HaOlamim Besidurim Shelanu. I'm sorry. Yeah. So yeah. Ribono Shel Olam. Then it says Ribono Shel Olam Keshem Shekabash Rachamav. Right? And this whole thing here, all these texts that we have there, these are all prayers that we say. That our prayers should be accepted. And then afterwards, this whole thing, Parshat Akedah, Mishnat Elu Devarim, and then we do the Mishnah Elu Devarim Shadam Osel Otam, Katuv Leolam Yeh Adam Yireh Shamayim. All these things going on and on. These are all in the Korbanot of the Sidur, the Sephardi Sidur. בסתר ומודה על ריבונו של עולם כשם שקבע שרחמיו, מודה על האמת ודובר האמת בדברו וישכם ויאמר ריבון העולמים ואדוני אדונים. לא על סדרתנו ואנחנו מפילים תחנוני לפניך. This whole thing, it all appears in our Sidur. כתוב בשיבול הלקט, says in שיבול הלקט, Tanya Beseder Eliyahu Rabbah. It says in Eliyahu Rabbah, which is like a midrash, right? Why is it called, by the way, Eliyahu Rabbah? Because it was taught by Eliyahu Navi to some rabbis. So we call it Eliyahu Rabbah. Hatufim, there are saintly rabbis of every generation that Eliyahu comes to them to teach them Torah. And this is what happened to Arizal, that the Kabbalah that we got from him was Eliyahu Navi taught him all this stuff. That's the way it is, So, Hatufim berav berosh kol hachutzot en ra'av ela b'divrei Torah. So it says that we are in hunger in the head, right? So what does that mean? That really we're hungry for Torah, right? That's our real hunger. The food we can get by, but the real hunger is the Torah. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay. I guess that applies to you ladies. So that's why you're here tonight. Okay, so there's a pasuk that he brings, right, in Amos Chet that talks about this. He says regarding that generation who Omer, it says all these things it says in the Sidur, because Manenu Zal and Hingu Lamro, so it says there the older generations, right? The former generations, they accustomed us to say all these prayers before we do the Amidah. Bechol Yom, every day, before they start doing the Psukei Zimra, right? Which is Ashrei and Hallelujah, all these things, right? Az Yashir. Rabbeinu Shlomo, it says Rabbeinu Shlomo. Who's Rabbeinu Shlomo? That's Rashi, right? His name was Shlomo. Shlomo Yitzchaki. So he said not to say this part because he was worried that if you say that you should be God-fearing in private. That means what? In public you shouldn't be God-fearing? What does that mean, right? Not in public, God forbid, right? So and then we start this prayer. It says there was one Gaon, Katav Shehagun Lomro, that it's nice to say, Share Ledatenu Hukba Sheba Lezarez Hadam. It was decreed by us that it's coming to encourage a person to be God-fearing, right? Even in private, even when nobody's watching you, right? You're inside your bedroom, nobody sees you, but still, right? You got to be a God-fearing person. God is watching everywhere. So it says, so it says, right? So in other words, he says, right, you should also speak the truth, right? Don't say lies, don't say fibs, white lies, red lies, whatever they may be, right? Don't say lies, and also in your heart, don't lie. Right? That's also it says, right? Be honest in your heart, be honest-hearted. Rabbeinu Binyamin, Achi Amar, it says, my brother Binyamin, he said that Sharawi Lomar Beseter Shelo Omru Aval Eliyahu. So he says it's proper to say that also. Disagrees with Rashi regarding being God-fearing in private. So he says, because Eliyahu, he says, said this corresponding regarding a certain generation when there was a persecution there from the Goyim. So they decreed, right, some evil kingdom. We had many of those, right? We had plenty of those. So they decreed that persons shouldn't say Kriyat Shema. So therefore, they weren't able to do it in public, say Kriyat Shema in public, right? It was forbidden. And that's why it says, right, that we're obligated to always to say in front of you, Shema Yisrael, right? Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. That's how it finishes this whole series of prayers. If you look in your Siddur, you'll find that, right? And why is that? Because that was the decree that they made, not to say that. So therefore, we say it, to contradict them, right? To say to them, no, we refuse you. We rebel against you. Okay, so it says also, blessed is the person who sanctifies the name of God in public. Right? So he says, why? Because at the time of persecution, right? The name of God is not sanctified in public. Everybody's afraid to come out, in the street and show that he loves God. Right? He's going to be punished, arrested, whatever, killed. Right? Only in private they can do it. Why? Because in public, you come out there, they're going to kill you. So, you don't want to do that, right? By the way, it's a rule you should know, by the way, the Shulchan Aruch brought down in your day, that there are 3 things that a person is obligated to give up his life, to sanctify the name of God. Those 3 things are, right, idolatry, not to worship idols, and murder, right, bloodshed, and also promiscuity, right, these illicit relations, all kinds of things like this. So, therefore, right, if a person is obligated to do this in public, one of these things, he has to give up his life, right, to sanctify the name of God. But that applies when he's in public, but when in his own house, he does whatever he wants, right? So that's a different story, right? Things are different inside from what there is outside. So, but it doesn't mean, by the way, that a person, if there is a shmad, if there is a persecution, you shouldn't come outside, and start flaunting your Judaism in front of everybody, saying Shema, because they're going to kill you, and it's not worth it. It's right. Don't go that far. Give up your life for that, right? It's not worth it. So in a case like that, a person should just do it in his house, and that's what they used to do when there was persecution. That's what they did. They were Jews at home, and outside, they were like, they tried to be, to stay away from attention, right? To keep attention away. Also, another question, by the way, there is about that. The question is a Jew allowed to dress like a goy in order to save his life? They're going to kill him. If they see that he's a Jew, they'll kill him. Are you allowed to dress like a goy? Let's say, you dress like a priest, right? God forbid. And you go on the street and they're going to think you're a priest. I don't know, whatever. Are you allowed to do that to save your life? So the answer, according to Shulchan Aruch, is no, you're not allowed to. The Rosh says that a person is not allowed to impersonate a goy, a Jew, in public. And he has to give up his life for that too. Better to give up your life than to look like a goy in public. That's what it says in the Rosh. That's how the Shulchan Aruch paskins. But the truth is that the Rambam has a essay about this that he wrote outside of his books, tshuvot, like his letters and his responses. Over there, he writes that you shouldn't give up your life for that, right? So the Rambam doesn't agree with this. The Rambam says that you can dress like a goy and not give up your life, right? Of course, I'm not talking about idolatry, right? I'm just looking at dressing like a goy. That's all, right? Not living like a goy. That's a different story, right? Worshipping like a goy. We're not talking about that. But the thing is, that the Shulchan Aruch didn't go like the Rambam. So the question is why, right? Why the Shulchan Aruch not go like the Rambam? So the answer is that the Shulchan Aruch, the Maran Beit Yosef, he didn't see the Rambam. Why didn't he see it? Because he didn't see the Tshuvot of the Rambam, the writings that were written outside of his books. He didn't have them, those writings. He didn't get them. So therefore he didn't see it. If he would have seen it for sure, he would have paskin like the Rambam against the Rosh. So he would have said, right, that you shouldn't give up your life. So the truth is, even though it says Shulchan Aruch that you should give up your life for that, but the truth is probably better not to, because the Rambam says not to. And if Maran would have seen it, he definitely would have paskin like the Rambam. There's no question about it. Okay, that's an interesting thing, right? So just, I divert a little bit, but it has to do with this topic here, right? About persecution and so forth, so on. Good. So it goes on. So therefore we shouldn't change. It says furthermore, Sham zera Yitzchak yechidecha yesh omrim yedidecha veyesh omrim medalagid yechidecha ve'omrim zera Yitzchak. Right. So some say it's yechidecha. Some say you skip the word yedidecha. All kinds of different ways of saying these things. Right. So look in your Siddur and see how it says there, and do it like that. Right. You don't need anything else. That's all you need. Okay. It says because we don't find Zera Yitzchak shenekad al gabe mizbechacha. Right. So it says the truth is that this verse, this prayer is a little bit strange. Why is that? Because it wasn't the children of Yitzchak that were bound. Right. It was Yitzchak himself. So then, why does it say the seed of Yitzchak, right? the children of Yitzchak? So that's the reason that it's a little bit strange there. Right? Also, he says we don't find that Yitzchak is called an individual, a unique person, whatever. Like Kadosh Baruch Hu, Ela Abraham. Only Abraham is called like that in the Bible. So some say it's Yechido, and talking about Abraham, which is mentioned above. It says Rabbi Binyamin Katabs, he wrote, She'en Reshanot, don't change it, right? Whatever it is in the Siddur, just leave it like that. So what's the explanation of Yechidecha? Your individual, single, right? Unique person, right? Bishmecha Karatalo, right? In your name that you called him, Aval Abraham Yaakov, but Abraham Yaakov, Lo Hayu Yechidim, they were not single, they were not unique. B'Shem Echad. So it's talking about one name, right? In other words, they had other names, right? Abraham and Yaakov, but Yitzchak only had one name. He never had any other name. So that's why we call him the individual, the unique, whatever, right? That he has only one name. Okay. Oh, yesh lefaresh. Oh, we can also explain that he was also singled out as being unique because he was offered up as a sacrifice, right? He was the only one that this happened to. That he was offered up like that. Okay, good. So that's the end of that. So let's go to Shulchan Aruch. Hit. Okay, we're almost done with this chapter. So it says in the chapter like this. One second. Okay, now it's good. So it says in Shulchan Aruch, Kol habrachot ha'elu, says all these blessings that we mentioned, the morning blessings, im lo nitchayeb ba'echad mehem, if he wasn't able to obligated to do one of them, we did this yesterday, right? We did this one already. We did this one. Let's go to Tet. Let's go to the next one. Okay. So then it says the Bet Yosef, he brings the tour here again. Rabbeinu Yehuda Chassid says, Rabbi Yehuda Chassid, Haya Gil Lomar Acharav, he would say after this prayer, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. We would say, right, this verse, Vaya Mechaven Letzet Bo Yedeh Chobat Kiryat Shema. And he was intending there, right, to fulfill his obligation of Kiryat Shema, of the Shema. Right, so the question is, why was he doing that? Because we say the Shema afterwards, right, with the blessings afterwards. So why do you want to fulfill his obligation here? I can tell you a funny reason, but I won't say it. Let's see first of all what it says here, right? Klomar, Kesheno Omer. So it says why? Because when he doesn't say Ela Shema Yisrael Bilbad, if he only said just Shema Yisrael at the end of that passage, Nireh she'eno ela sipur devarim. It seems like it's just he's telling over a story, right? Story time, right? But when he says she'omrim Yisrael keshem yachadim, the Jews say, right, when they take on the name of God, right? When they single out the name of God, unify. That's the word. They unify the name of God. Aval kesheomer baruch shem kavod malchuto olam vaed. When he says this, right afterwards. It seems like he's doing it right now. He says because of that, that's why he used to say these things, this verse. He says if not so, why would he why would he say that? So, just let me explain to you what this means, right? What is he trying to say here? At the end of all these passages that we just mentioned in the Korbanot, right, the last thing it says there is Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, right? And then, by the way, my Sidur, and all the Sidurim that I saw, doesn't say Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Leolam Vaed afterwards. It just says, it stops right there. So Rabbi Yehuda Chassid used to add that too, right? By the way, who was Rabbi Yehuda Chassid? Who was this guy? Anybody know who he was? He was from the Balei Tosfot, one of the Balei Tosfot. And they called him Chassid because he was a very pious man, and he was a big Kabbalist also, who used to save people's lives and write amulets, write all kinds of kameot. He was a very holy man, very famous person. He's also famous for several things that he said about about the Torah, certain enactments that he made, and so forth and so on. We won't get into it now, but anyway, right? He used to add also Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Olam Vaed. What's the reason why he did this? So explains Bet Yosef. The reason is because if you don't say that, it's just like you're telling over a story, right? Oh yeah, that's what the Jews do, But if you say Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, what you're saying is like right now I'm unifying the name of God. I'm not just telling you a story. I'm actually doing it. You know what I mean? That's the difference. So that's the reason why I wanted to do it there. Interesting. Okay. It's funny, because personally, I'll tell you, I used to.
Sorry, I apologize. Can you say it slower, the prayer?
Which one?
The one that you just mentioned.
Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed? Yeah, this we say this on Yom Kippur, out loud when we go to the shul. Like we say it like about 1,000 times on Yom Kippur. I'm exaggerating, not 1,000, but many times, right? We do it.
Rabbi, she
I'm
wants
not-
you to say it slower. Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed.
There you go. Okay, so
Slower.
yeah, I can't say it's much slower than that. I'm just my mouth runs.
But she can't understand you.
You know what
have to
it
say
is?
slower.
You know what it is? When you live in Israel, you become like a Speedy Gonzalez. You can't talk slow anymore. It becomes like you get habituated to talk fast. So if you want to do everything slowly, don't go to Israel, because over there they're going to train you to be fast. Okay, whatever. God bless you. So anyway, right? The truth is, it's on the screen also, so you can see, right? If you want to see it, do you have the screen there? You see it? Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. You see where it says that? Second to last line. Yeah, you should look at the screen, and you'll see. Got it? You see that? Good. Okay. So, also that which he wrote, also, there's another reason why. He says, because sometimes they do this prayer called krovetz. Who does this prayer, by the way? Only the Ashkenazim, they do this. The Sfaradim don't do this prayer. But since sometimes the Ashkenazim do krovetz, so what happens is that they get to the Kriyat Shema much later, and sometimes the time of Kriyat Shema has already run out. It's only until the third hour of the day, right? So this is the reason why I used to say also there, the Shema, it fulfills obligation earlier, just in case when he gets to the later part, the time will already be run out. That's the whole thing. Okay, that's the story there. So let's go on. Yesh l'dakdek midegarsina b'Yerushalmi. So it says there is to make a duke here, to deduce, right? That which we have the Girsa, we have the this text in Yerushalmi, in the Gemara Yerushalmi, Perek Kama de Brachot, the first Perek of Brachot. It says over there, Rabbi Yosa, Rabbi Acha, Nafkin Tanita, Atu Tzibura Mikre Shema. So he says that these two rabbis were doing a fast, and the community came, right? And they read Shema, Batar Tlat Sha'in, after the third hour. There you go, right? So in other words, they read it too late. That's what happened over there, right? Tlat Sha'in. Rabbi Acha mimchie bidehon. So Rabbi Acha wanted to object to them like this, So what does that mean? That it's not worth it. Like, why are you praying so late like this? That you're missing the time of Kriyat Shema. Amar lo Rabbi Yosa. So Rabbi Yosa answers him, this rabbi, right? Hem korin ota ela la'amod b'tfilah. So he says they already read it earlier. He says, right? I guess he was agreeing with Rabbi Yehuda Chassid. They already read it earlier. He says, so what's the problem? If they're now reading it late, they already fulfilled their obligation earlier when they read it over there at the end of Korbanot, in the middle of the Korbanot. So therefore, he says, what's the problem? Like, give them a break. Like, don't be so rough with them. Don't be so harsh with them. Okay, good. So he says, now they're just saying it to say Kriyat Shema and then go into the Amidah. They already fulfilled their obligation before. So now it's just like some kind of a warm-up prayer for the Amidah. That's all it is. Right? That's all you're doing. Right? It's not even a prayer, by the way. It's more like you're reading the Torah. That's what it is. Shema is not a prayer, right? You're reading Torah. That's what it is. It's not really. Okay, so good. So he tells him, he says, but there are some simple people, Ameratzot, ignorant people. They won't say it at the right time. So in other words, you see from there are some people who don't know how to do that, that when they're coming to pray a little bit late, they should read the Shema before the prayers, because otherwise it's going to be too late for them to fulfill it. So the rule is like this, I'm talking about for men now, right? Because for women it's not really so important, because they're not really obligated to say Shema. You know what I mean? It's just a minhag by them. It's just a custom to say Shema by them. There's not really obligation from the Torah. Why is that? Because it's a positive time-bound mitzvah. But for the men, right, they have to know one thing. Every man has to know one thing, right? That when you're praying in a minyan, which is a little bit late, lazy daisy minyan, right? The lazy guys, 8:30, 9 o'clock, coming late. You overslept, sleep, slumber, one side, the other side, right? You make sure you sleep on all sides of your body, right? To make sure your body was rested well. God bless you. Now you came, right? And the Kriyat Shema is going to be over in 10 minutes. So what do, right? First say Shachrit and then do Kriyat Shema? No, first do Kriyat Shema and then do Shachrit. Why? Because otherwise you're going to miss the time. You know what I mean? So that's the story, right? That's what he's trying to say over here. Okay. Good. Let's go on. So it says. So it says you see from there. So it says you see from there. Oh, 1 second. Okay, so it says that you see from there that you shouldn't read Kriyat Shema in the wrong time, even though you already fulfilled your obligation of Kriyat Shema. Right, that it says there is to say that since this rabbi said, right, that he inquired, right, he wanted to object against them, right? Bidehon, these people who are doing this with way, but it implies that he wanted to, but in the end he did not. Why is that? Because the other rabbi put him in his place, right? Told him, don't worry about that, right? They already did fulfill their obligation before. So what's the problem, right? Leave them alone. Okay, so Nami says, since it's so, so he says also here by us too, says Bet Yosef, right? What does that mean? That if you see somebody, right, you're like one of those rabbis, who likes to rebuke everybody, one of those you're a zealot, right? Zealous rabbi. So if you're one of those zealous rabbis, or Rebbetzin maybe also, right? A Banit, right? Whatever it is, whatever it may be. Right? So you like to rebuke everybody. And by the way, it's good to rebuke. It's good, you should rebuke. It's a mitzvah from the Torah, right? So don't be afraid. Even though they'll fight with you, they'll tell you, oh, why you give me a hard time? Leave me alone, blah, 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 blah. And then he'll block you on Facebook, he'll block you, he'll block you on WhatsApp, and you can't call him anymore now. He's upset at you. It's okay, if you rebuked him for the good reason, you did a mitzvah, so it's okay. One day he'll unblock you again. Don't worry, soon, in a month or two, he'll unblock you. So don't worry about it. Okay, but say it in a nice way, right? You have to rebuke it in a nice way. That's the whole thing, right? Don't be harsh, don't be mean, don't be nasty. When you rebuke, nice and easy does it, right? Easy does it. Don't go too harsh with people, otherwise they're gonna run from you, right? Like like you're some kind of a pit bull or something. They're gonna start running from you. Okay, so let's go on. So it says that you see from here one thing, right? That if a person comes too late to shul, they're doing a late minyan. So this is, and then you see them, right? They're saying Kriyat Shema late. You don't have to object. Why is that? Because they probably already read it before, and now they're just doing it for the tefillah, for the prayers. For the sake of the prayers. But they already fulfilled the obligation before. We're going to get, by the way, soon we're going to get into the laws of Kriyat Shema, and we're going to discuss more, thoroughly these laws, about the time of Kriyat Shema and what is the last time, what is the proper time, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of rules about that, right? We're going to get into that pretty soon. B'ezrat Hashem. Okay, so let's go on. So it says, right. So also it says there's another thing, another answer, which is that even if you do object against them, they won't listen to you anyway. So what's the point? You know what I mean? Like, why would you want to object? Okay, they're praying a little bit late. They're praying at 9 o'clock, right? They shouldn't be doing that. They should be praying at 7:30 or 7, something like that. 9 o'clock is already lazy guy, lazy man, right? But nevertheless, even though they're lazy people, these people, if you object against them and tell them, why you pray at 9 o'clock? What's with you people? Wake up on time, be zealous for Hashem. They're not going to listen to you anyway. So what's the point? Why give them a hard time? Don't fight with them for no reason. That's the idea. Not everybody can get up early. Some people have a problem getting up early. Good. Okay. So, let's go on. I can just tell you, by the way, that my rabbi, Maran Rabbi Ravadia, he told us like this. This was his words. He told us, he says, if I see any minyan, which is after 8 o'clock, he says, I'm going to shut it down. Why is that? Because it's too late to pray at that time already. In other words, even though according to halakha, you can pray till like 10 or 11, depending on if it's, what do you call it, daylight savings or standard time. But nevertheless, it's not proper to do that. It's just not proper. It's not a proper way to start your day, with a lazy attitude. So therefore, right, a person shouldn't do this on a daily basis. Getting up late, everything delayed. Once in a while, okay, he had one of those nights. He went to sleep late. They had a wedding or something or whatever. Okay, we understand that, but every day to be like this, praying at 9 o'clock, every day, it's not really the proper way to live. It's not a proper Judaism. You have to get up in the morning early. So that's halakha, by the way. I'm not talking to just good advice. That was the first halakha that we learned when we learned the Shulchan Aruch, right? The first halakha was a person has to get up early in the morning. That's the first halakha in the Shulchan Aruch. So they're going to ask you, when you get to heaven, after 120, right? Whatever, right? They're going to ask you, the first halakha in the Shulchan Aruch, did you fulfill it? You got up on time, right? You got up before sunrise every day? Sir, let's go to the next one. Let's go to the next halakha. Yeah, we'll skip that one. Oh, skip that one? What happened? The first one you don't want to do? It's going to be a little bit of a problem there, you know what I mean? So, okay. So, as we said, right, that let's go on with this. It says, like Rabbeinu said, the Torah, in chapter 68, B'Shem Rama, in the name of the Rama. Umash Katav, he says also not what she wrote. Kedita bebrachot Shema Yisrael, like it says in brachot Shema Yisrael. Zohi Kiyat Shema Shel Rabbi Yehuda Anasi. So it says over there, that this Rabbi Yehuda Anasi, right? Do you guys know who he was, by the way? He was a great rabbi of that generation. He was the one who wrote the Mishnayot. He wrote the Mishnayot. He was a great leader of Am Yisrael. So Rabbi Yehuda Anasi, he was a very holy man. They called him Rabbeinu Kadosh. They called him the holy rabbi. He was the holy rabbi. So what he used to do, it says on there, Masechet Brachot, his Kriyat Shema, you know what he used to do? They say that they used to have like a class going on all night. They would learn all night. These, like several times a year, they would get together, the whole community, and they would have a festival of Torah, a Torah festival. You know what I mean? So what was the Torah festival? That the leader of the generation teaches them Torah all night, until the morning, and then they all leave, go back home, right, whatever. So what happened was that it used to come now, the time of dawn, after the whole, lecture went on for the whole night, the dawn would come, right? So it's time now, after dawn, before sunrise, to say Kriyat Shema. That's the time. So what he would do, Rabbi Yehuda Anasi, he didn't want to stop the class, right? To pray now, Shachrit, because Talmud Torah can get Kulam. Torah learning is more important than prayers. You know what I mean? Especially when it's communal, communal Torah learning is much more important than prayers. So therefore, right, the Torah comes first. So he didn't stop the class to pray. He wouldn't do that. So what did he do? He would just he would tell something to his student, right, disciple, who was screaming out and yelling out his Torah. He would tell him, okay, say now this to the community, this statement, And meanwhile, as he was translating what he was trying to say or whatever, saying it out loud, he would just like pass over his eyes like this hand and say, Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. That's it. He would just say the first pasuk. And then he would continue the class. That's what it's talking about here. So why did he do it this way, right? By the way, what's the reason why? Because as we said, right, they didn't want to interfere with the Torah learning. But, since the first pasuk is from the Torah, the obligation is from the Torah, so therefore, at least we want to say that much. To fulfill the obligation from the Torah. The rabbis, we can, delay that later on until we finish the class, right? But the Torah part, we want to do now at the right time. So he would just pass over his eyes like this, 2 seconds, That's it, right? He was Israeli, he said it fast, not like, as I told you, right? Israelis like to talk fast, So you never hear you probably won't hear what he said. So that's the way it is. Okay. So that's the way, and people didn't even notice, by the way, that he did that. It was just like nonchalant, That's it, continue, let's go. Right? So this was his Kriyat Shema. So what do we see from there? Right? What's the lesson for us? It says like this, right? That the lesson is like this, that if a person is in a hurry or something, right? Emergency situation, and he wants to do Kriyat Shema really fast, he doesn't have time to do the whole thing. Let him just do the first pasuk, because that's from the Torah, And that's what it says, by the way, also in the laws of Kriyat Shema of the night, right? When you're going to sleep at night, you have to say Kriyat Shema before you go to sleep. By the way, according to Kabbalah, you should say all 3 paragraphs. Not like what it says in the Ashkenazi Siddur, just to do the first paragraph. You should do all 3 paragraphs. So, and this way you'll have good dreams at night, right? No bad dreams, no strange dreams, right? All kinds of things. And everything will be good. So, what he says like this, right? That it says in the Halacha, let's say a person is very tired, and he can't say the whole thing. He's too tired. He can't even stay up. He can't keep his eyes open to finish the Shema. So what should he do? Let him just say the first pasuk, right? Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. According to the Torah, he fulfills obligation. So therefore, now he can just drop into bed, and collapse, right? That's it. Collapse into bed. Okay, very good. Let's go on. So it says. Who Beresh Perek Kaya Kore, right? It's over there in this Yud Gimel Amud Aleph, in Amud Bet, in Masechet Brachot. של רבי יהודה, והטעם לפי שהיה לומד עם התלמידיו, שהיה מגיע הזמן קריאת שמע, לא היה רוצה להפסיק מלימודו. It's exactly what I just told you guys, there's the whole story here. He didn't want to stop from the class, from the learning of Torah, אלא לקרוא כפסוק ראשון. So he would just do the first pasuk, and that's it. All right, בלבד דהווה דאורייתא, because it's from the Torah, דאורייתא. Right, that's the whole thing. כתב הרעה, says the רעה, the Gemara, it says in Gemara, right? Mesapek Kalan, it says we have a doubt in the Talmud. Im chozer v'gomer leachar she'amad mibet hamidrash, or lo, oh. So he says the doubt is like this, right? After he finishes his learning, his studies, right? And he only did the first pasuk, as we said. He was so adamant to learn Torah, so vehement. He only read the first pasuk of Kriyat Shema. So the question is, when he leaves now and finishes the class, does he have to finish the rest of it, or no? That's the question that they're asking here. Or whatever he did, that's it, right? That's the question. So what's the answer? It's a doubt, right? So it says over there in the Gemara that Rabbi Shimon, the son of Rabbi, he would come and finish it right afterwards. He would finish it after they finished the learning. That means he would come and finish the brachot, the blessings. Even though he already fulfills the obligation of Kriyat Shema, the writer from the Torah. So he says, therefore, since we say in the morning this prayer, Ribono Shel Olam, right, all the things that we mentioned, beginning of the class, and we get to the end of this whole prayer, which is Shema Yisrael. So therefore, what happens is like this, he says, that over there, when we do that pasuk at the end of Korbanot, in the middle of Korbanot, we fulfill our obligation from the Torah, from Kriyat Shema already. So, right, that's that. We are, if you have intention to do that, obviously, right. And then afilu hachi kere bata hachi Shema d'Rabbanan. And then we do the rabbinical obligation, which is the 3 paragraphs, like the brachot d'Rabbanan, and also the blessings of the rabbis. Miu is the rabbinical blessings. Miu says lo mechavar, but he says this doesn't sound right to do that. Right, Shapir de'ilu Rabbeinu Kadosh mishum dukat girsahu de'avid hachi. But he says, you know why? It says Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, he was doing that, but he was doing that because he had no choice. They were doing a class, they didn't want to stop the class. But when it comes to just regular prayers, who's pushing you to say Kriyat Shema so early? Wait till you get to the real Kriyat Shema with the blessings and do everything over there in one shot. That's better. That's what he's saying. Rabbeinu Kadosh, Mishum Ducha the Girsa, it's because he was Mishum the Torah Manoto, because you know why? Torah Manoto, right? So what does that mean, Torah Manoto? That means that there are people in this world that their profession is learning Torah. You know what that means? They don't have any other job. He doesn't do accounting, he doesn't do teaching, he's not a teacher, he's not an accountant, he's not a doctor, he's not a lawyer. Right? All he does all day is learn Torah. So a person like that, we call him Torah Manoto. What does that mean? His profession is learning. He's a professional learner. Right? So that's what Rabbi Yehuda Nasi was, right? All these big rabbis were like that. They were professional learners. Some of them did have jobs, by the way. They did have professions, some of them. But the ones in the higher level people, the rabbis who were like really, really holy, right? All they did today was learn. They didn't do nothing else. So a person has to understand that, by the way, even in our generation, not on such a high level, but nevertheless, a person has to know that there are people like this in the world. All they do is learn all day. So, don't ask them questions. You're like, hey, don't you have a job? Don't you do something, for a living? Yeah, I'm serving God. That's my living. What would you like me to do? So you have to understand, right? Don't think you're some kind of a Martian, from outer space. This is the best way to be according to the Torah, right? As it says in the Zohar Kadosh, right? Also the Midrash, they say over there that what is a person who really serves Hashem, with all his heart, all his might? You know what that means? He learns Torah all day doesn't do nothing else. He has no other profession. The person who really serves Hashem, he serves him all day and night, non-stop. Okay, we should get to that level, Bezrat Hashem. All right, so anyway, right, that's the way it is. It's fair, Adif the Tzibura, the Memar Brachot, Kriyat Shema, the writer Ilkach says, but when it comes to the community, we're not going to do like Rabbi Yehuda Nasi. We're going to wait till we get to the Kriyat Shema, the real Kriyat Shema, and then do everything together with the blessings and the whole thing from 1 to the A to Z. We have to do it that way. It's more of a proper ritual that way. Right? Hilkach says, therefore, I should have said like this. He says that's what it should say in the prayers, that we sanctify your name, we unify your name twice a day, right? Saying and we say, right, Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Vechen kibalti, says that's the way I have a tradition. Mipi Mori, says from my rabbi. Rabbeinu Ad Kanashino, that's the end of the language of this rabbi. Okay. Vechen katu be'ohel moed, it says also on Ohel Moed, B'Shem Ramban, same thing, right? Same idea. Ve'achshav, he says Nagu, so says Maran, Beit Yosef. Now he says the custom is like this. Nagu ha'olam lomar pasuk rishon. The custom is to say the first pasuk, right? Only at that time when they finish the korbanot, right? In the middle of the korbanot, whatever. Shel Kriyat Shema, Rabbi Yehuda Nasi. Mishum the Kriyat Shema, but Tzibur have achar netzach hama. Why is that? Because the Kriyat Shema, when they pray in the community, it's usually after sunrise. And it's not really the best time to say Kriyat Shema. So therefore, when we do it earlier in the korbanot, we should say, at least from the Torah, full obligation over there. Because why? Because maybe that time is going to be before sunrise, and before sunrise is the best time to say Shema. That's the most proper time. That's what it says in the Zohar Kadosh. That's what it says in the Rambam, right? The best time to say Kriyat Shema is before sunrise, like right before, before you do the Amidah. The Amidah you start at sunrise, exactly, and the Kriyat Shema right before. That's the best time. If you want to be a really holy person, this is the way you do it. We're going to get that, by the way. There's halachot about that. We're going to get that pretty soon, Bezat Hashem. We're going to talk about that at length, right? Comprehensive. Okay, very good. So it goes on to say, right? ואפילו זה שעת קריאת אותו פסוק יהיה קודם לנצח חמה, ואפילו אם יהיה אחר הנצח חמה, even if it's going to be after nets, כל מקום טוב למהר או לקדים, nevertheless it's good anyway to do it early as possible, קריאת שמע, right? In other words, even if you miss נצח חמה, even if you miss sunrise, you get up a little bit late, right? And you get up after sunrise, nevertheless you try to say קריאת שמע as early as possible, right? So therefore, anyway, it's good to say it early. That's why they put it in there, in the korbanot, that you should say it a little bit earlier, even, right? At least from the Torah. Whatever you can do. Says even more than this, is it seems to me Yerushalmi, that I wrote close by, it says the custom was in the community to read Kriyat Shema, they would do it in the right time. Right? And then they would come back and do it with the blessings again, right? Again. And even though they already read the whole thing, right? Why is that? So the reason is because we don't bless this blessing, right? To read the Shema. Rather, he says, these are like praises from to Hashem, not the blessing of a mitzvah, which is something else. Gdola mizu, he says, umizu matzati, he says also more, he says even something bigger, says I found in the Rashba Tshuva, v'zeu lashono, this language, haditnan, that which we learned in the Mishnah, right? Haya koreh b'Torah. Let's say he was reading the Torah, v'giaz man mikra. Now came time to read Kriyat Shema. Right, so we're talking about a private person, right? In your house, whatever it is, right? You're in your house, you're reading the Torah, you're learning Torah, and all of a sudden, time for the Shema comes. Right? So you know what he's talking about here? That you were reading the part of the Shema, like by coincidence at that time, and the time came for Kriyat Shema. So if you have intention to fulfill the obligation now, you will, even though you're just reading the Torah, because you're reading the Shema. That's what it is. You're reading the Shema. Since you're reading the Shema and you had intention to fulfill your obligation, you will. But if you don't have intention, then you won't. That's the thing, right? Because mitzvot require intention. They require like kavanah. That's what we call it, right? Intention. Okay, good. Let's go on. So it's Mistaba de Choser ve'omer brachot b'fnei atzman. It says, but then what happens is that he comes back and says the blessings as well, right? Afterwards, the blessings of Shema. By the way, as we said, right, the Sephardi women don't say these blessings, right, of the Shema. The Ashkenazi women, they do. So it's a different custom there. Each one goes according to his custom. The Sephardi ladies are saving time a little bit, right? Getting to work a little bit faster. Getting to work on time because they're not doing the Kriyat Shema blessings, right? Whatever. So they're saving a little time there. They're saving about 5-10 minutes there. And so the truth is, as my rabbi used to tell me, that the woman's prayer in the morning shouldn't take longer than 15 minutes, the whole thing. They can do it pretty fast. As long as you read, in a decent pace, it shouldn't take longer than that. So why do I tell you that? Because, some women have a problem, like stopping for prayers, because they're always busy with their life and everything. So, we tell you, listen, it's just 15 minutes, 10 minutes, can you spare? Can you spare 10, 15 minutes? Come on. Try to do it, right? So it's not so bad. But the men, right, we're praying for an hour in the morning, you understand? So we got a different kind of a job altogether. We're saying a lot more things than you guys are. And except we have some ladies, who are very pious, right? They say everything, whatever. So whatever. But as we said, right, even if you're pious, if you're a pious lady, but the Kriyat Shema blessings you're not allowed to say if you're Sephardi. Okay, very good. So let's go on.
Kavod Harav, I'm sorry. Did you just said that Sephardic ladies are not allowed to say the blessings of the Shema?
Right, exactly. They're not allowed to say them. Yeah, they're not allowed. So what's the reason for that, by the way? Because there's a machloket between Rambam and Rabbeinu Tam. Right? The Rambam says any mitzvah that the women are not obligated to do, they also cannot bless on that mitzvah. They can't say the blessing. Right, but Rabbeinu Tam, who's the rabbi of the Ashkenazim, he says no, they can. You know why? Because it doesn't go on them; it goes on the whole world. Like we said yesterday, these blessings go on the whole world, not on your personal experience. So therefore, Rabbeinu Tam says the women can say those blessings, but we hold, the Sephardim, that we don't say them like the Rambam. We go like the Rambam. So it's a difference in custom. This whole thing from long time ago.
Thank you.
Okay, God bless. So, as we said, right, that I know that's what it says in Orchot Chaim. Bishmo, in his name, that which we learn in the Mishnah, there's also another Mishnah which says like this in Masechet Brachot. If he went down to immerse in the mikveh, right, in the morning, he likes to immerse in the mikveh in the morning, to be holy, to be pure. Right, there are some people like that who do that. Every morning they go to the mikveh. So he says, if he can come out of the mikveh and cover himself and say Kriyat Shema, because the time Kriyat Shema is already running out. Right, until sunrise, you should come out and cover yourself and do it. That means the mistabra shechozer ve'omer brachot says, but it says still it's reasonable to say that also he's going to say the brachot afterwards as well. Right? In other words, here we're talking about now the right time, which is before sunrise. But then he's going to say the blessings as well afterwards. After he comes out of the mikveh, he gets dressed, he goes to pray in the shul, he'll say the blessings over there. בפני עצמם. מהטעם שנזכר, הילקח says מנהג דידן, מנהג תיקון ותיקין הוא. So he says, therefore he says, our custom is the proper custom, he says, it's old custom. Okay. עתה הוא עד שלא נברא העולם. So says, also here we have more prayers that we say in the morning, in the Sidur and the Korbanot. Nitchana al pi says this was made because Ayushami, because Ayushami. Ve'enam potachat bebaruch shena ela berchat hodai. So it says this blessing doesn't open up with the word baruch because it's a blessing of thanksgiving. So the rule is that blessings of thanksgiving don't open up with the word baruch. They don't start with the word baruch. Ken katvu atosot b'perek Rabbi Pasachim. That's what's in Tosot. Good. Uberesh perek shlosha she'achlu. And also this perek, right, which is in Brachot Mem Vav Amud Aleph. When he asks, it seems from the words shemaskir b'Hashem b'chatimata. He does mention the name of God when he seals it. But Rambam, it says the Rambam, it said that Tfilot lo izkir b'Hashem. It doesn't mention the name of God in this prayer. Okay, good. Interesting. He goes on. He says, we're almost finished with the chapter. He says, I have a question. He says, I have al zeh seder lomar psukim kodem berachat haTorah v'nahagti v'atzmi. So he says there was a problem with this. He says, how do you do all these verses in all the prayers that we just mentioned without saying the blessings of the Torah? Because you're reading the Torah over here. So it says, therefore, it says the Torah that he used to do first the Birkat Torah, first bless for the Torah, and then do these prayers. And by the way, that's what we do also. First we do the blessings of the Torah before we start these prayers. So what's the proper order, right? According to our custom, the proper order is first Birkat HaShachar, right? And then Birkat Torah, like it says in the Sidur, and then we start the Korbanot, right? All those prayers that we just mentioned here. Those extra prayers that we mentioned today, all those things, those are said after you do the blessings of the Torah, like the Torah says. So it says Kataba Agur, says the Agur B'Shem Maharam, name Maharam, Deha Tzarich Levarech Kashehu Mashkim. It's that which you have to bless when you get up. Hainu Davka Kasher Lomed. That's only when you're learning Torah. When you get, in other words, he's talking here. You know what he's talking about? let's say a person gets up early, like late at night, like 4:30, 5. It's still not morning yet. So should he say blessings of the Torah at that time, or wait till dawn, right? So he says that if you're going to learn Torah now, you do have to say the blessings of the Torah now. Don't wait till the morning, because you can't learn Torah without blessing on the Torah. You know what I mean? So once you went to bed, and you get up at night, we're talking about, right? Not in the daytime. If this happened at night, you went to bed, you got up, you went to sleep, even for a short time, you do have to say the blessings of the Torah. This is halacha. So same thing over here, it says, right, that if you get up late at night to learn Torah, which is, by the way, the custom of the pious, right? They want to learn Torah at the end of the night. It's a very big thing, you should know, by the way, to do this, according to Kabbalah, to learn Torah in the second half of the night, after midnight, because that's where you get a graceful day. That next day is all grace, all kindness for you, right? It gets turned into kindness by the fact that you learn Torah after midnight until the dawn, that period, like David HaMelech used to do, King David, right? Like it says in the Gemara, Masechet Brachot. So if you want to be a real holy person, right, this is not obligation, of course, going to halacha, but try to learn Torah between midnight, right, which is like 1 o'clock, depending on the season, and until 5:30, whatever it is, until the dawn. Those 5 hours there are the best time to learn Torah, the holiest time, right? And it's the hardest time too. Why? Because you're sleepy, right? You're all drowsy. Can't sleep. You're falling asleep. Can't stay awake. But because it's hard, it's also very holy. Whatever is very holy, it takes a lot of hardship. Nothing comes for easy. Nothing comes easy. So that's the way it is, right? So, as we said, right, that if he does that, he should say the blessings of the Torah. But if he's just doing the prayers, supplications, and you don't have to do blessings of the Torah for that, right? To do prayers. Ravad Katav says the Ravad, but he says you do have to bless. Why? Why? Because there are verses also in the prayers. There are verses there, from the Torah, from the Bible. So you should bless also before the prayers as well. That's what he says. Psukim. Mikra says Mikra. So these are all from the Bible. They're part of the Torah. That's what it says in Mari Molin. That's the length of it. B'siman Aleph. B'siman Tzadik Bet. He also wrote in chapter 92. Shemari Molin Katab b'tshuva. He wrote in tshuva. This rabbi. She'en lachush im omer. You shouldn't be concerned if you say verses before the blessings of the Torah. Because you're not saying them to learn Torah. It's more like in a context of prayer, right? Those verses. So you're not doing it for learning. You're doing it for prayer, even though these are verses from the Bible. So he disagrees with what we just said, right? It's a machloket, like everything else is machloket, right? There's also machloket. There you go, right? So, yeah. Derech limud ela derech bakasha. So it says ela derech bakasha b'ritzui katav shekach noagim b'Ashkenazim. That's how the Ashkenazim do. He says that they're not so particular about that, to say the blessings of the Torah before these particular prayers that we mentioned. But with Sefer Orchot Chaim, but it says in Orchot Chaim, Katuv, it says over there, B'aseret yemei tshuva, 10 days of penitence. Since we do slichot on those 10 days before the shachrit, kach min hagim. That's our custom. He says, first they do the blessings of the Torah, and then to learn one halacha. Mishnah is the command from the Mishnah, or Mishnayot or some other Mishnah. Then we see Ashrei, right? Ki haktuvim Torah hem vehem bichlal ma she'amru brachot lemikra tzarich levarech ad kan. So he says why? Because it says in the Masechet Brachot, it says over there in the Gemara that you have to also bless for Bible passages. Before you say any Bible passages, you should first say the blessings of the Torah. Okay, let's see the Shulchan Aruch when finished. Sorry to keep you so long. I hope they don't punish me in heaven for keeping you so long like this. Okay. I don't think they will. All right, so let's see what it says here. Shulchan Aruch. Okay, one more and we're finished. That's it. This is the last one. So it says in the Shulchan Aruch, Lo yikra psukim kodem berkat Torah. Look, exactly what we just said, right? You shouldn't read any verses, from the Bible before you say blessings of the Torah. Right? As we said, right? We already talked about this. We're talking about once a day, right? Not every few hours, right? The blessings of the Torah are said only once a day. That's it. But you should know, by the way, that there is a time where it will be said more than once a day. You know when that is? Let's say you get up like late, or like early, late nights, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, right? You want to learn some Torah, right? Be like King David, learn Torah late at night. And then all of a sudden, right, you realize, oh my God, I'm so drowsy. I got to go back to sleep a little bit. So you got up at 2, and now you want to go back to sleep at 4, right? So since it's still night, when you get up in the morning, you're going to have to say Kriyat Shema. Not the Kriyat Shema, say. You're going to have to say the blessings of the Torah again, because since you slept at night, you have to do them again. So in a case like that, you would have to do them again. But if you got up at night, like late night, right, as we said, 3 o'clock, let's say, and then you didn't go back to sleep in the night at night, you stayed up till the morning, then you will not have to say again. That's only going to be enough. Okay, so anyway, right, it says over here, even though he's saying them as prayers, right? But you should try to, right? Say the blessings of the Torah. Even though these verses are meant as prayers over here, supplications. Some say you don't have to be careful about that, because he's only saying them as supplications. So he says it's proper to be stringent, like the first opinion, right? So meaning what? That try to say the blessings of the Torah before you go into saying supplications, which have verses in there, Bible, all kinds of things. Okay, so it says the Rama, but he says by us, he says the Ashkenazim, the custom is like the second opinion. So what does that mean? Ashkenazim were not so machmir about this. They're not so stringent that they should say first the blessings of the Torah before reading these supplications, right? So it says why? Slichot, mitpalim slichot. Because when time of slichot comes, before Rosh Hashanah, what happens, or after Rosh Hashanah, right? What happens is that they do say these slichot without saying the blessings of the Torah first. And then we bless on Torah afterwards, he says. Said there. On the proper order, the rest of the blessings as well. But we starting, by the way, our custom is that when we go for slichot early in the morning, before Rosh Hashanah or after Rosh Hashanah, we do the blessings of the Torah first, right? And then we go, right? So this way, right, it'll cover everything, the blessings of the Torah. The whole prayers you're going to do from A to Z. Okay, so Yom mishenechnasim lebet knesset omrim kama pasukim tachnunim nachach mevarchin haTorah. So also in the shul, people come in, they say tell supplications and then blessings of the Torah. So he says the custom is to say the blessings of the Torah after Asher Yatzar, right? By us, by the way, it's not like that. What we do is that we say Birkat Torah after Birkat HaShachar. Once we finish all the Birkat HaShachar, right? Ben Sheu Ben Barit, Ben Sheu Ben Barit. So once you finish that last verse there, right, then we do Birkat Torah. That's how we do. The custom now is like that. Okay. You shouldn't change that, it says. Okay, so that's the bit of the Ashkenazim. But Tov Lomar b'Shachrit, it says also good to say in the morning, Achar Shema Yisrael, after Shema Yisrael, Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Olam, right? I'm sorry, I said it too fast. What can I do? I'm an incurable Israeli. I'm sorry, I have to apologize. Okay, so as we said, right, that it's good to say that too. It's funny, because like I personally, when I was younger, I used to say that like just as an automatic reaction, because it always goes together, these two things, First you say Shema Yisrael, and then Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. That's the way it is. But then I realized, and I said to myself, but we're not doing the mitzvah of Shema over here, Why am I doing this? Like, so I stopped doing it actually, So, yeah, I guess I get to the same whole mode over as these rabbis over here. Anyway, it says right that says why sometimes what happens is that they say Kriyat Shema too late because they're praying a late minyan, So he says therefore you can fulfill your obligation over here, at least from the Torah, to say the first pasuk. Right, then that's the way it is. Okay, very good. Baruch Hashem. Okay, we're done with that. So Chodesh Tov, Have a great month. This is a month of Geulah, a month of redemption, This is the best month out of the year. So make sure you enjoy it, a lot of joy, a lot of happiness, a lot of good things. Everything should be good. B'ezras Hashem, Chag Pesach is coming up in 2 weeks. Be careful. But get ready, start cleaning your house. Make sure everything is clean, nice and spiffy. Okay, so I'll see you next week. B'ezras Hashem. Shabbat Shalom. Be blessed with wealth, health, happiness, all the good things. Amen v'amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
God bless. All the best. Oh.
Wow. This is very interesting.